police coming from all sides now to prevent any sort of overspill onto the pitch. And I can see Graham Kelly, the FA secretary, has come down onto the field to see what the reason is for that. It's such a sensitive issue, crowd control, at the moment, but I have to stress that there is an injury or two now needing to be dealt with. That could be because of a crush as they came over, and it doesn't look very pleasant for the supporters who are stretched out and clearly concussed, and the teams are going to have to leave the field here at Hillsborough. Well, an incident in the opening 10 minutes which has left some supporters stunned and hurt, and the teams walk off bewildered. Now, one has to say that that is a segregated part of the ground, the Leppings Lane terrace. Liverpool supporters occupying it, and I can only assume that there was overcrowding, and as they tried to come out from behind the barriers, people at the front were crushed. Now, whether in the middle of that there was some misbehaviour and the pushing became dangerous, only time will tell. Well, this is not the scene that we wanted to see on semi-final day. And more police are being called for. Reinforcements are coming from the Forest End now to attend to this problem. And there are fans climbing up from the terrace to try and get refuge in the seats now. Well, yes, Gerald, I can only assume the problem started with overcrowding at the Leppings Lane end. From where I'm sitting, that section was occupied by a segregated, thousands of segregated Liverpool supporters, but as they came over the barriers or through the barriers, people were injured at the front, I think, and I have to say that it was crushing that seems from here to have caused the accidents and the injuries. The police now have sent reinforcements from the other end of the ground, the Cop end, and it's beginning to look like a serious problem. Graham Kelly, you may already have said this, Gerald, the FA secretary, has been on the pitch, and we've now got one or two rather, or very silly people misbehaving as well. And that's added to it. There's a policeman just had to wrestle a fan to the ground to stop him from running amok. And I think it's going to be some time before we get this situation cleared. There are an enormous number of police there, but they clearly haven't sorted out the number of people who can't seem to find any space. And as I look from here, Gerald, there are people climbing up from the terrace to try and seek refuge in the grandstand. You can see there, they're being helped up by people in the seats. And with such a sensitive time for crowd control in this country, this was the last thing that anybody wanted. I'm not suggesting by that misbehaviour provoked the original crush. It may have been simply a matter of too many people in one section of the ground, but there are clearly people stunned and concussed. Yeah, I've got an explanation for what's happened here, BT. I'm going to give you a line. And the story emerges that one of the outside gates leading into that terrace was broken. People without tickets got in, were therefore overcrowding the people with tickets, and that's why the crush occurred. That should be passed on to grandstand as well, please. You know, I think grandstand should come back in this situation. Well, okay. I can give that line to the... Jimmy Hill's made a point up here, John, that apparently there's been no loudspeaker announcement at any stage in all this about telling the fan. Was there? Oh, all right. Well, Jimmy says that the other fans didn't know what to do. He said they had no sort of guidance as to where to go. Did you? Did you? Peter Robinson's on the pitch now as well, walking down the near touchline, just inside the half, hand in pocket. I think he should, John. They can come to me and I can cue to Graham Kelly if Gerald gets him, or he can get Peter Robinson if he. Johnny, and then I'm only sort of trying to help them up here. I do think they need to get someone on grandstand quickly here. I tell you what, we need an interview here, John, for grandstand. I mean, hell. John, John, I'm telling Owen Thomas to go down with Desmond now because we're not getting there quick enough. Yeah, well, I'll do a report, but I need information and we need an interview. Well, I've no information up here about the number. All right. Des has gone down now. Do you want Jimmy Hill downstairs as well? You don't. All right. It needs some comment, that's the thing. I can hold it as long as you want, but we need someone at the other end of it. I can hold it if you like till then. Right, okay, Jill. Thank you. Very good. Yeah, I can talk over as many shots as you want for as long as you want. Just tell me who we're going to have when I have to wind up. Yes, horrific scenes, Bob. I have no way of knowing how many casualties we have here, but they are considerable. There are ambulances on the arena. We have people being carried away on stretchers. First aid treatment is being applied to people on the ground as I speak. Advertising hoardings are being used as emergency stretchers, and there are clearly a number of fans seriously injured. John Smith, the Liverpool chairman who witnessed the dreadful scenes at Heysel 4 years ago. I have to say that this was not caused, as far as we know, by misbehaviour, except that the reason it happened was that one of the outside gates here was broken, and non-ticket holders forced their way in and overcrowded the section at the Leppings Lane end, occupied by the genuine, authentic ticket holders. There was a crush, people fell forward, and the devastating result you can see from that. There's total confusion down there. The police have brought in as many reinforcements as they can, and there is without any question at all, serious injury to a lot of people. The referee quite rightly took the teams off the field instantly. This happened, by the way, after 6 minutes of play, and the incident occurred 20 minutes ago as I speak now. And if anything, it's looked worse as every minute has gone by, because there are far more people hurt, it would appear, than seemed likely when the first overspill occurred. There has not been, to my knowledge, a loudspeaker announcement inside the ground about what the people on the pitch who are not hurt should be doing, but there's no question now that the problem was caused by non-ticket holders forcing their way through a broken gate at the Leppings Lane end of this ground. And the FA Cup semi-final has been suspended in the most serious fashion. We're still trying to get an official comment from either the Football Association or one of the officials down at pitch level, and for the moment all we can do is report that it looks extremely serious. And one wouldn't wish to make comparisons with previous incidents of this sort, but it's certainly a sensitive time in terms of crowd control, and we have a lot of people hurt here today after that incident, after just 6 minutes of the FA Cup semi-final, which started in bright sunshine but which is now being clouded by people running across the pitch with emergency stretchers, carrying injured fans away. And I have to say, from my position up here, it would appear serious injuries. There are more advertising hoardings being rushed across the field, because in the last 5 minutes it's emerged that there are more serious injuries here than we thought when you were with us live about 10 minutes ago. The scene in that half of the field, and that's where it's restricted to, there's absolutely no problem in either of the grandstands or at the Kop end where the Forest fans are. It's all happened at the Leppings Lane end, the left hand as we look, which was occupied by Liverpool ticket holders, and as I said, they were thrown forward, pushed forward, shoved or overstretched by those who came in, I'm told, without tickets. And as I speak now, more and more advertising hoardings are being torn from the Kop end of the ground, and other fans now are acting as stretcher bearers and bringing them down as quickly as they can to try to help and rescue those who are still stretched out. And at this moment, I would say there are more people there than can be treated. This is Peter Robinson, the chief executive of Liverpool, who was one of the chief witnesses at the Heysel tragedy, and his expression just explains to you what a serious matter we could have on our hands now here at Hillsborough on one of the FA's showpiece occasions. And now more and more stretchers, or would-be stretchers, are being brought from all sides of the ground. From all the perimeter boards are now being used to take fans who are stretched out in and around that penalty area to some kind of first aid centre or treatment room. And it does look, I'm afraid, a very serious scene from up here. I understand there's still no official comment available from down below, although obviously we're chasing that. But I've got Jimmy Hill here with me, and I think it might be time to ask him for his observations on this very serious scene.
Well, it's tragic in every way. It is change, really, because the awful thing, without any information coming over from a loudspeaker system, was that the Nottingham Forest fans at the other end of the ground were not really understanding the seriousness of the situation and were carrying on with their chants, which wasn't appreciated by those at the other end in such trouble. But I think they understand the situation now, and all those fans who are coming on, taking down the advertising hoardings and carrying people off, are being warmly applauded. So thank goodness some common sense has come into the ground. And as you'll hear, there is an announcement there. That's Kenny Dalglish, who's coming out to try and calm down the situation. It's very difficult at a time like this to say that there have been fatalities, but I'm quite sure that we shall be extremely lucky if we end up at the end of the afternoon without anybody having died. But everything is being done by people here to restore the situation to some kind of sanity, and the good nature of people is coming out rather than the stupid side.
John, we're trying to get some comment out. Nobody really wants to talk at this end. Glenn Curtin, though, will have a word when they've had a little conference, if they want that. Yeah, he will do, I think. But I've asked Smith and Robinson of Liverpool and Kelly and all those. They don't want to talk at this stage. They don't really know what's happened. It would seem the fans here tell us that what's actually happened, that nobody was showing tickets. They opened the gates and they were virtually letting everybody in at that end. And you know, clearly people have been very seriously hurt, and it's a disaster. I would think the game's obviously abandoned, isn't it? But the ref doesn't want to talk. I mean, I've asked everybody, and I understand that. They don't want to rush into comments when they don't know the facts. But if you just tell them at the other end, I have tried to do that. Okay.
I've got Jimmy with me still, John. We can hold it up here as long as you need to, but we can't say anything new, really. I mean, could I cue to Desmond or Gerald on the side of the pitch just to sort of have a, well, yeah, to have a view from down there?
What's the plan? Oh, go on. Yeah, I can give you a couple of pointers. Yeah.
John, let them come to me, and I'll just update it as far as I can from up here, and then let Des come in from down there and say what he knows. We've got to have two views. At least if we can't get an interview, we've got to keep it going.
Too many, no, they're just too many. It's too small and under the ground floor.
Yes, I'm talking now to you, Des.
Sorry, say that again.
Right, Des, it's John Motson here.
Yes, John.
I'll do about 30 seconds when they come back, and then I'll say, Desmond Lynam's down at pitch level. Can you tell us any more, Des?
Yeah, well, I think I can. Well,
right.
Yes.
Well, let's do that then.
Well, I don't know about the injuries. I'm staying off that.
Yeah, all right. But we've got to keep it. I mean, it's a huge story, this.
Yeah.
Get the organiser of the event, Nate Talent!
Well, can they get a police officer or something? I mean, we need some comment from somebody in authority.
John at this end, John Shrewsbury. Do you want him to stand by here? Do you know what happened? Were you involved?
I've just seen John Beasley at the top of the bar. Everyone seems to search forward.
Yeah. Well, the two people in there without tickets.
The police open the door.
Actually, standing just turning
But the police, I tell you what, when the police open the gates, I just know there's no Liverpool supporters.
There's going to be a riot now. John, they're running up the pitch to taunt the other fans, mate. Get them to get to our shots, John, you'll have to. Thanks, Jill. Yes, Bob, the scene, if anything, has got a little grimmer since you were last with us. We've now got more and more fans being carried away, and in fact the police presence now on the pitch is enormous. They're trying to just shepherd the people who have not been hurt away, but that in itself is proving difficult, because at the left-hand end where this tragedy occurred, the goal net has now been taken down from the posts there, and there are firemen and first aid people and ambulance men mingling with the police, trying to sort out what has now become a terribly serious scene. There was one moment a few seconds ago when a section of Nottingham Forest fans did taunt some Liverpool supporters who raced down the pitch. Fortunately, that was stopped, and at the moment the police have formed a barrier in the Nottingham Forest half to stop the Liverpool fans from going down there. That's what you're watching at the moment. Now, I can say little more from up here, except that I do believe that Desmond Lynam can clarify how the fans without tickets got inside the ground. Desmond is down at pitch level.
Well, John, I've been hearing the points of view of so many Liverpool fans who've come past me over the last few minutes. I'm in the tunnel at the moment, and there are people in tears here, and people who don't understand the situation. There's been no violence as far as the Liverpool fans are concerned. They simply said they got the wrong end of the ground, that there were too many people given tickets for that end of the ground. And then furthermore, they say that the gates were opened, tickets were not inspected, and too many of their fans were allowed into the ground. There are grown men coming by me here in tears, exhausted, troubled, concerned that they're going to get the blame for this again, the Liverpool fans, when their behaviour has been sound and solid, and they're just concerned. They're blaming the authorities for opening the gates. They weren't told what was going on, and there are a lot of people clearly have been hurt. Several have seen them, and and you can hear them now, and there have been a lot of people injured, and some are very, very concerned for their friends.
Thank you, Desmond. I've also got Jimmy Hill still with me up here on the television rostrum. Can you add anything to that, Jimmy?
Well, I was only going to say that what seems the worst feature of it now is that the Nottingham Forest fans packed at the other end of the ground have no idea of the serious nature of the situation. And because of that, they're behaving as if the match is going to begin any minute, and they're still wanting to do their chants for their team, which is inciting some of the Liverpool people and quite understandably upsetting them. But it's a misunderstanding that's responsible at the moment for what trouble there might be. It seems to have calmed down again. If only those fans at that end of the ground would know what had happened, I'm quite sure the whole atmosphere would change for the better.
Jimmy, I think we can get some more information down at pitch level, which is really where we must go now, and speak again to Desmond Lynam.
Thank you, John. I've got one or two of the fans with me who've just come out of that stand. Now, exactly what happened as far as you were concerned?
Please open the gate and let everyone come in without a ticket. And there's the tickets there, proof of tickets, that people just walked in that gate there, and the police just let them walk in. There's people there, and there's people dead there, lying on the floor.
They put people into that ground there, that terrace in there, and they let them go in. It was chock-a-block, and as the people were trying to get out the front, the police were forcing them. The police were trying to force them back into the crowd. And this ground was allocated for the FA Cup final because it could have dealt with any problems such as and now it hasn't, and it's down to greed as far as I'm concerned.
Were people around you badly hurt?
Yeah, there's loads. There's people lying, even in the stands, there's people lying on the
You
floor.
had a little boy with you, didn't you?
Yeah,
He's all right.
He's okay. And if your wife's there watching, the lad's okay.
Well, so who she is, your wife?
Marion, the lad's there, he's okay.
Well, we can't speculate any more at the moment, gentlemen, because we don't know the absolute facts. Back to you, John, for the moment.
There is now a long line of police just making sure that none of the supporters who are uninjured transgress into the other half of the field. The scene would appear in that sense to have calmed slightly, but I can't stress enough the serious nature of what's happened at Hillsborough today. We have unfortunately witnessed a tragedy of some proportion. Quite what proportion we cannot yet obviously establish, but you've heard as much as we can tell you for the moment, and naturally we shall be reporting into Grandstand further the more we can clarify the very sad and serious events which have happened here at the FA Cup semi-final.
John, I know at a time like this I shouldn't concern myself with little problems, but I've got a car up here. You know, I heard you talking about trains and things. I'll drive back, won't I? Yeah. It's getting you out of the ground. It's only about 5 minutes, 10 minutes drive. I need a fast car to get me there, then I can drive. Yeah. 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 Okay. Right. Shall we do that now? Hey, say it again.
Jerry's with us now. He's standing with
Yeah.
us.
All right. All right. Okay. We'll meet them somewhere then. Okay.
I'll get you to the scanner. I'll bring Des to the scanner. So that's you. Yeah. That's a very intelligent report I did there, but no.
Yes, I know. I heard all that. Listen, John, you just leave me. I'm fine. I know exactly what to do here. You just concentrate on getting some official reaction as and when you can, because that's the first thing we've got to chase now. It needs somebody from the FA to say something. Yes, OK, I'll take over, Martin. Don't worry about that. Jimmy Hill has left the gantry. Must be. I'm the only person here now. John, there's a crowd of people round Kenny Dalglish now, including... Oh, you know, sorry, I can't see your pictures. I've got grandstand on here. All right. OK, Jill, thanks, love. Well, we've got to get something from down there. I mean, I'll hold it as long as you want, but I can't. I've got no information from here. Thank you, Bob. The scene here, from where I'm sitting high up on the television rostrum, appears to have calmed to a degree. Most of the injured have been taken away. There are still one or two awaiting attention on the pitch. There is terrible emotional scenes going on because people are checking to see if their nearest and dearest are in fact safe and if they've survived the crush which occurred after only 6 minutes of this FA Cup semi-final. Emergency services all over the area have rushed to try to aid the injured, and many fans have been carried away, as I think you already know, on stretchers and perimeter boards being used as stretchers. We're still waiting for some sort of official reaction from either the Football Association or the police as to whether we can take any further the news of how this occurred, whether in fact a gate was opened. And I think the next person we should go to down on the pitch level is in fact my colleague Gerald Sinstad.
Well, there's not a lot more news down here. There's still a great deal of confusion and uncertainty. What is beginning to emerge is that it does seem certain that people were allowed into the ground without tickets. There are people here, Liverpool fans, brandishing tickets with stubs that have not been removed, saying that they were just waved straight into the ground without checks. That is the story that's coming from the Liverpool end. As to whether the game will go on, it now seems extremely doubtful, but at the moment it has not been officially called off. Down on pitch level, the rescue operation goes on. Emergency stretchers made from hoardings being used to take people away, but down in the dressing room area, I'm afraid no official news, but a great deal of concern.
John, there's now some fighting in the stand opposite. Oh, you know. and I know you don't, but I've got to report it, mate, to you, and if nothing else. Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy Hill came down a good 5 or 6 minutes ago. No, Jimmy's gone from the gantry a long time ago. John. Can you hear me on that now? Can you hear me, John? Can you hear me, John? Can you hear me, John? Right, now Maurice Roworth, the Forest chairman, is now walking down to my extreme right to try and sort of keep the Forest fans calm. Down by the corner flag at the moment. Extreme right from the gantry, by area 1. Yeah. Shows Motti. Do you think we ought to do that Sui material live into grandstand? Well, I tell you what, it's... You can't? Okay, all right. Well, yes, I've just heard the first loudspeaker announcement, Bob, actually, the whole of this terrible scene. And I think it came from Kenny Dalglish, the Liverpool manager. And although I couldn't hear what he was saying, I can only assume he thanked the Nottingham Forest supporters for their patience and their sensitivity in this tragic situation, because there was great applause from all round the ground when Dalglish spoke. Now, as of this moment, there is applause ringing around the ground, I think because the two sets of supporters appreciate that this is nothing to do with inter-fan rivalry or bad behaviour. It's purely the tragic result of overcrowding at the Liverpool end of the ground, which we now are almost certain was caused by a gate being opened and non-ticket holders being allowed to flood in to the segregated terrace at the Leppings Lane end. We have no information, or I haven't up here anyway, about the state of the injuries, of how many people are hurt, or how badly, or indeed whether the game will continue or whether it will be abandoned. We're still waiting for that information. What I will say is that for the first time now since this started, which must be about 55 minutes ago, the pitch is being cleared. Fans are now being led away by the police, and in fact those who aren't are actually wandering off of their own accord. And there does appear to be a semblance of order emerging now. In the goal mouth, as you can just see there, those advertising hoardings were torn away simply to be used as emergency stretchers to ferry the injured, and I have to say seriously injured, away from the ground to the nearest first aid post. That was the goal mouth where the incident really happened after only 6 minutes play. There's now an air of complete calmness around the ground. The supporters in all four stands are aware of the serious nature of what they've witnessed, but they are all behaving in an orderly and sensitive fashion. Those Nottingham Forest supporters away to our right there on the Kop, they were not involved in any way whatsoever, although their chairman Maurice Roworth did go down there and just say to them, keep as calm as you have and allow us to sort this situation out as sensitively as we are able. So they can only stand and wait, and we can only wait for further information. I'm told that nobody from the Football Association or from the local police is in a position to comment at this stage. We have asked for some sort of clarification, and we're told that at the moment that's not forthcoming. So as you can see, we're just waiting now for the scene to calm down. Quite whether the match could ever be seen to continue in these circumstances, I have to say, remains very much in the balance, and I would have thought the odds might be against it, but that's not really for me to speculate, nor indeed can I speculate on the number of people injured or how seriously, because we just do not have that information. What is definite is that we've witnessed a very sad day once again, for different reason perhaps, in English football, and the repercussions and the post-mortems and the examination of what went wrong is going to occupy the headlines, I'm afraid to say, for many, many days to come. John Schroeder. Trouble at the left-hand end again, John. There's some people trying to get back over the barriers and the... Sorry. John fighting in the left-hand corner, John.
John, this is Motti here. Where is Gerald at the moment? He's in the tunnel, right? Okay, just so I know where to cue to him if I have to, that's all. Okay. Schrozy. I shall need to see those pictures before we do that live. Oh, I see. Okay, all right. I thought he meant. I thought he meant your Sui pictures. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean the pictures they've already had? All right, I can do that. No problem. That's all right. That's all right. I thought you meant your Sui stuff. Okay. Well, why don't they bring Kelly up with me if he won't do a piece because of the reaction down by the tunnel? All right.
collapsed there. Look at there.
Please, come on.
To stay in the stadium, to remain in the stadium just for a few minutes until we can get rid of all the injured people. As soon as we've got rid of all the injured people safely to the hospitals, we won't be able to do that if you rush out to the ground. We'll let you know and you can leave the stadium in safety. Please, it is a very difficult situation for all concerned. Please don't panic, try and be calm, and we're doing our best for you.
Yes. Can you hear me on the main lip? Okay, right. Now, I heard exactly what Martin Hopkins wants. Now, shall I do it chronologically without saying how many deaths there might have been? Good gracious me.
What, instead of now? Yes, we're going to do that. Don't you think? I think Grandstand will want something, won't they? Can I say that? Yeah. 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 Right. Now, what do you feel about that fairly extensive? I mean, that's an alarmist phrase. I mean, it's more worrying than actually giving a figure, isn't it?
Oi, go on your way.
Yeah, okay. I think that's better. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Kenny, don't talk to me.
I've got it. Oh, just tell me how the pictures start, will you, so I know I'm... Okay, mate. Well, help me, John. You have to produce me through them a bit as well, mate, if you see something that you think I should mention. Okay, you have to produce me doing this, because I don't know what's coming up. Yes, I'm all right, Jill, on that, love, on both monitors. I know exactly what's required of me. All right, mate. John Schroes. Okay. Yes, I'm listening. Do you think they ought to do me first before Jerry and Graham? Yeah, but I think, Martin, I think this is so serious, I ought to cue Jerry and Graham before we do that 2-minute look back. I mean, you know, we've got to get the news in first, however tragic it is. Tell Bob to cue to me, and I'll get Sinstat and Kelly in. Okay, Jim. Thank you very much. Yes, I have to endorse that, Bob. We are talking here about a tragedy of immense proportions. We shall have more information about that in just a moment, but I have to go back to the time at 3:06 when this first started. The teams were on the pitch, the game was in progress, and the players were asked to leave the pitch. Graham Kelly, the Football Association Chief Executive, led them away, but that was purely perfunctory, because what was happening at the other end of the ground was, as I said, a disaster which will, I'm afraid, occupy our thoughts and minds for a very, very long time. The feature here which caused all this was that people were coming in to the back of that terrace without tickets. They were admitted without tickets, we're told, and they didn't force their way in, we're told, but they crushed and pushed the people at the front. And I have to draw a certain comparison there with what happened at Heysel, because the people who were crushed stood no chance at all. The ambulances came round as quickly as they could, and by then we knew that we were witnessing a dreadful disaster. As you can see on the far side of the ground, the people there were not involved. Kenny Dalglish, who witnessed Heysel, knew by then just how serious what has happened here at Hillsborough today had become. His expression really telling the story of this dreadful day. These poor young men were carried away on makeshift stretchers, one after the other, and further reinforcements in the way of boards arrived to ferry away all those seriously injured, some of them fatally, in one of the worst disasters to be reported on an English football ground. John Smith, the Liverpool chairman by then, was aware of the gravity of this awful incident here at Hillsborough, and from then on, I'm afraid, the news went from bad to worse. As you know, the match has been abandoned. Peter Robinson, who's witnessed this sort of scene before, the game is off. The fans who were mercifully not injured have left the ground, most of them, and I have to report we believe there are in excess of 20 fatalities. The emergency number, for those of you who wish to find out news of relatives, is on the screen now. I will repeat it: 0742 570 800. I'll repeat that: 0742 570 800 is the emergency telephone number for those who wish to inquire about their friends and relatives. But the feeling here now is one of complete numbness as to what's happened on a day which started in bright sunshine, and then after just 6 minutes of football, the tragedy of Hillsborough, as I'm afraid this will become known now, occurred at the Leppings Lane end of the ground, which today had been reserved for Liverpool supporters. I have to report at this stage that, to our knowledge, there was no fighting or rioting as the initial cause of this awful disaster, that it was matter of people being allowed into the ground, so we're told, without tickets, and occupying a section on that terrace which was already full with genuine ticket holders, all of them Liverpool supporters. And as the scene starts to calm down inside the ground, the noise of sirens and emergency services outside is now starting to dominate this terribly sad afternoon. The hour and a half now nearly since this incident occurred has been occupied with all sorts of confusion, with all sorts of rumour and counter-rumour as to exactly what happened and exactly how great the extent of fatalities is. And more news of that inevitably and dreadfully will follow as the day goes on. But this is one of the saddest days that I've witnessed in an English football ground, and one dare not at this moment talk about the repercussions because one is still so preoccupied with thoughts of those who've been injured, many of them fatally. Might make a point there, John. I think Brian ought to also think about Bert Millerchip in that respect, the chairman of the FA, because of the events of this week. He's at the heart of this European thing. Very, very, very important that he's there. I understand that. That's all right. That's okay. Is my main lip still up? Okay, just say to Hopper, if he's got a problem, I can hold it from here. Yes, Bob, I have to say that all the reports you've been receiving from me have been from high up above the grandstand in the television camera position, and in being as sensitive as one can, I have to tell you that I believe, from information I've been told, that the number of fatalities now may be as high as 50, or maybe even slightly higher. The police are in that control box just trying to pull together the strands of what remains now of this awful couple of hours. We're watching pictures of belongings and other things strewn around the pitch and at the end of the ground where this disaster took place at about 6 minutes past 3. And I'm afraid we have a tragedy here in England now which may even exceed that which until now has always been referred to as the Heysel disaster. This, I'm afraid, is on a similar scale, maybe on a bigger scale. The press are just conveying now from their box what they know of the incident. There's one of the crush barriers that went. For anybody who's joined us at the end of this horrific occasion here at Sheffield, there is an emergency number if you wish to ring to find out information about friends or relatives. It's on your screen, I'll read it: 0742 570 800. The man that we shall be hearing from very shortly will be the Football Association Chief Executive, Graham Kelly. We are in fact in the process of recording an interview with him now. The police have so far yet to make a full and detailed statement as to the extent of the tragedy, or indeed the cause, which we've pieced together for those who haven't heard earlier reports, as being the fact that at that Lepping Lane end, the fans without tickets were for some reason allowed to come into the ground in the early minutes of play, push forward on those who had tickets and were already in that central section of the Liverpool ticketed, segregated part of the ground. And what happened after that, I regret to report, will now become possibly the biggest tragedy ever seen on an English football ground. Certainly it's of gigantic proportions, and those who are left are just wandering around absolutely stunned by what's occurred. The game was abandoned, incidentally. You must have gathered that by now. The game was officially abandoned. It was a good hour or so after the incident that announcement was made, and there have been all sorts of emotive scenes with supporters coming running down to try and explain what happened, arguments between supporters and police, people highly strung, obviously, in tragic circumstances. Kenny Dalglish doing his best throughout the hour and a half to investigate and to calm people down and to try and urge the Liverpool supporters who were unhurt to behave, and the Nottingham Forest fans who were at the other end of the ground and completely unaffected by this tragedy behaved with great patience and sensitivity until they were allowed to leave the stadium. The scene now is one of comparative calm, just a clearing up operation really, because the dreadful damage to human life has already been done. On the occasion of the Football Association Challenge Cup semi-final, on an afternoon which started in such bright sunshine, with such optimism, in such high spirits, and now the faces tell the story of what's occurred here at Hillsborough, and which unfortunately is committed to the annals of history in the most dreadful way. Two Forest players there, Des Walker, watching, unable to do anything about it, unable to take it all in perhaps, and we're still waiting, and I shall be bringing him in fairly shortly. We're still waiting to hear from the Chief Executive of the Football Association, Graham Kelly, but for the moment the pictures that we have here do reflect the awful events which have happened since 6 minutes past 3.
this moment?
I'm only able to tell you what I know, and that is that there are two stories. I've been up into the police control box. There are two versions of what went wrong. The first is that a door or doors was forced down. The second is that a door or doors was or were opened by someone in authority. It seems clear that more people came into that end than should have been in that end. Obviously there are a lot of casualties. It is reported to me that there are fatalities. If that is the case, it's a desperate situation.
A number of people have alleged to us that they were allowed in with tickets, but the tickets were not checked. They've shown us tickets with the stubs still attached. And the implication of that, of course, is that other people were able to come in without tickets at all.
Well, that supports one of the versions which I've given to you. As I say, there are two versions. Whatever it was, there was a lack of proper control at that end of the ground, with the results that you and I have seen.
Have you any idea at this stage how many fatalities there are?
I daren't quote a figure. I really daren't quote a figure. I'm horrified at the possibilities. I daren't say what it might be.
What will the FA's next step be now?
The FA's next step will be to announce a very searching inquiry. I don't think there is any point in even thinking about replaying the game, with certainly thinking about making a decision on that within the next 48 hours. Certainly I can't attempt to do that based on the knowledge I have at the moment. And if you talk about the future, there has got to be a very large question mark over whether we can take matches of this nature to neutral grounds like a club ground in future. It may be that we will have to examine the possibility of going to Wembley, which has a capacity of 75 or 80,000 or even more than that. We've got to examine all the options, but I think that's a considerable way down the line. My thoughts at the moment are for the people who've been injured and or bereaved. I think there have been people bereaved today, and if that is indeed the case, I don't really want to be sitting here talking about football with you.
It's terribly easy in these circumstances to be wise with hindsight, but there was a good deal of comment beforehand about the wisdom of allocating the particular ends and giving a larger number of tickets to Forest. In the light of events, does that now seem to have been a bad decision?
I don't think that there is a particular problem there. I think the discrepancy in the number of tickets is so small as not to... It isn't relevant to... I don't feel it's relevant to the discussion we're having at the moment. We had the same match here last year. The police tell us that that is the way they want to control the situation. They want the Liverpool fans at one end, they want the Nottingham Forest fans at the other end because of the traffic arrangements, and they go to very elaborate lengths, as I've seen to my own cost today in having to make a very long detour to get here from the south of the city. They go to very elaborate lengths to make sure that there is no problem, and under those circumstances I really don't feel that the relatively small discrepancy between the number of tickets is relevant to an incident of this magnitude.
Inevitably previous occurrences of this kind come into people's minds. I think it's worth making the point that this was not a hooliganism problem.
Well, that's right. It appeared. I've not heard anybody suggest that there was aggravation, that there was fighting, that there was trouble of that nature. One version suggests that people were at fault in forcing a door down, but that is not necessarily the case. If people were allowed to go in without having their tickets checked, they were allowed in by someone in authority. So whichever version is true dictates my answer to that question.
From my own observations, and I'm sure from yours, an awful lot of ordinary people have actually done some quite heroic deeds out there today.
I'm not surprised if that is the case. We had an hour and a half between the players coming off the field and the announcement of the abandonment. For much of that hour and a half, I was behind the scenes. trying to facilitate the flow of information between the police commander and the referee and the two team managers and the two boards of directors. That in itself was no small task. So I didn't see what precisely was happening all the time out on the arena, in the arena.
Graham Kelly, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
Fine.